Okay, in this video, I'm going to put 4 models head to head. I'm going to give the same prompt to each model and ask it to build a habit tracking app. And then we're going to test each app to see which one does the best job. The 4 models we're going to be testing in this video are Claude Sonnet 4.5, Cursor's new model, Composer 1, GPT-5 Codex, and Grok Code. So as you can see, we've got our project directory set up here. We've also got folders for each model so that they can build their app in their own directory, and then we can test each one. So everything they build will be isolated to their specific folder. And the way we're going to set this test up and run the prompts is using Cursor 2.0's new agents mode. So if we flick over here, you can see I've already set up agents for each model that will be used in this test. But let's first now just review the build prompt that we're going to give to each model. We can see here it says you are now beginning the build phase for the habit tracker test. You are responsible for the version located in Habit Tracker GPT-5. So if we flick back to Editor, we can see project directory here, Habit Tracker GPT-5 relates specifically to the Codex build. Your task is to build a Habit Tracker web app using React. A Vite scaffold already exists in this folder. The app must include at least these core requirements, and then we've got some things that it needs to include: add new habits, mark daily completion, display streaks, show an overall completion summary, persist data using local storage. Thirdly, beyond these basics, you are free to brainstorm and implement any additional features or design ideas you believe will make the app more useful, delightful, or innovative. And then we've got some suggestions as well as a disclaimer at the end. Feel free to invent and implement original ideas not listed here if they enhance the app's functionality, user experience, or design. So this step in the prompt is designed to give flexibility and creativity to the models. So we don't want to make the prompt strict so that they're just going to create replicas of the same habit tracker app. This is designed to let each model shine by making it clear that they're allowed to go ahead outside of the guidelines that we've set and actually implement its own ideas and features and functionality if it thinks it will make the app better. Next, we've got the top priority is a fully working app with no bugs. Creative or advanced features must never compromise stability or basic usability. So the idea here, again, is to, while giving flexibility that we want advanced features if they're able to do that, we also want to make the priority a working app. We're hoping that we can just one-shot this and get 4 working habit tracker apps that we can review, as opposed to having to go back and debug and prompt each model again to get to a point we've got a working app. We just want, hopefully, to have a one-shot working app for each one. That's the main priority. Next, we're just saying keep the UI clean, minimal, and responsive. Next, you may create or modify files as needed. After completing the build, create a README file with setup and run instructions, and also create an eval file summarizing the implemented features, edge cases handled, performance considerations, accessibility decisions, known issues if any, and a short reflection on why you chose your extra features or design direction. And then we finish with some rules. Do not modify or access other directories. Work only within the assigned project folder. Confirm your current working directory and list files before building. The app must run successfully with no errors or broken features. Prioritize clarity, stability, and maintainable code. Be creative and expressive, but above all, deliver a working, bug-free habit tracker. So that's our prompt. It's very clear and detailed. We've got some guardrails, but also we've opened the possibility up for flexibility and unique design for each model. So we're going to hit enter here. We'll let Codex first build. I'll then go through and send the same prompt through to each model. Once they've finished the build, we'll then review how long it took, what they've built, and then we'll test each app. So we can see here the build process is underway for all 4 models. The cool thing about Cursor 2.0 and the new agents interface is we can have multiple agents running in parallel and working on different tasks or projects. So as you can see on the left-hand side, we can see the status of each model as they are in progress with building the app. So this is a pretty cool feature to keep in mind if you're working on projects where you want to work on multiple tasks at the same time, but perhaps you know that specific models are better for specific tasks and workflows. You can set up your agent interface so that you have these specialized agents set up for those specific tasks, and then you can give them instructions or prompts and have multiple agents running in parallel to get a lot more work done quicker. Okay, all 4 models have completed the build process. There were some massive differences in the time taken to complete the build. Composer was the quickest to finish. It took 1 minute and 35 seconds. Second to finish was Claude. It took 5 minutes and 5 seconds to complete the build. Next we had Grok. Grok took 11 minutes and 43 seconds to complete the build. And finally Codex took the longest to complete the build process. It took 26 minutes and 23 seconds. So that is a huge difference across the board, and a wide variety in terms of how long they each took to complete the task. The difference between Composer and Codex is just massive. 1 minute and 35 seconds versus 26 minutes and 23 seconds. That's a huge difference. So it's going to be really interesting to see the actual apps when we test them, see what the one-shot habit tracker app for each model looks like. We can also see on the left-hand side how many files were created and total lines of code. Codex has created 19 files, 2,082 lines of code. Grok, 15 files, 1,570 lines of code. Claude has created 16 files with 1,578 total lines of code. And Composer, the quickest to finish, has 10 files with 1,093 lines of code. So not only was it the quickest, it used the least amount of code. Codex took the longest and used almost double the amount of files and code as Composer. Grok and Claude look like they're in between those two results. Let's now test the app. So I'll run each app in dev mode and we'll see how they've done for the actual build. This is going to be obviously the biggest test. We'll go from quickest to longest. So first we'll review Composer. I'll jump over and we'll have a look at that one now. So here is Composer's Habit Tracker app. We can see we've got a title at the top. We've got a crescent moon here, which is probably dark mode and light mode. So we can flick between those using that button. We've got a progress box as well here, and then we've got an add new habit box. At the bottom it says no habits yet, add your first habit to get started. Okay, so we'll add a few habits in here to test it out. We'll say walk the dog. We'll use the blue color for that one. We'll then go to green and we'll say journal as a habit. Let's try red next and we'll say go for a walk. So we've got 3 habits added now. If we scroll down, we can see each of these habits now has its own section with the last 7 days that we can review. We've got 0 days, 0 complete for each one. If we click on this first box, we can tick that off. And we can see as we tick them off, it says 7 days, 700% complete. So that might be a little error here with 700%. We've got a last 7 days. We can then just keep ticking boxes here. Looks like it says today's progress, 1 of 3 habits. If I click that, it still says 1 of 3. So it looks like it doesn't tick it off as being complete until we've ticked off all 7 boxes, which is the weekly. So today's progress looks like it's actually related to weekly progress. We need 7 out of 7 to get 1 here. So that sums up what we have for Composer's Habit Tracker app. Let's just get rid of journal and see what that does. Are you sure you want to delete this habit? And then I confirm and it removes it. So we've now got 2 habits. So for a one-shot app that was built in 1 minute and 45 seconds, not too bad. It's working. There's obviously some things we could work on to improve, such as having day labels here rather than last 7 days. I'm not sure how it would update for a new day based on the way it's currently laid out. We could also update the progress bar to be more day-based rather than what it looks like, which is weekly based, and we need all 7 to get 1 ticked off. So that is something we could look at, maybe even a calendar view to see what days we've missed potentially, and a historic view to see a better view of all of our habits and each days and our performance. But for a one-shot app with the prompt we gave it, not too bad. We could obviously go back and prompt some more to make some changes. But that's a look at Composer's build in 1 minute and 45 seconds. Next, we'll jump over and we'll have a look at Claude's effort. Okay, here we have Claude's version of the Habit Tracker app. We've got Habit Tracker title at the top, build better habits 1 day at a time. A section here where we can add a new habit. At the bottom here it says no habits yet, create your first habit to get started on your journey. At the bottom, built with Next.js, TypeScript and Tailwind CSS, data stored locally in your browser. Let's click on the add new habit button. We can see that pops up with this, create new habit. Habit name will say walk the dog. A category will say pet, and then we'll leave the blue color here and we'll click create habit. We can see now that has opened up a new window here One feature that it looks like it's added is a motivational quote at the top here. So we can see it says motivation is what gets you started, habit is what keeps you going. So we've got a little quote there to keep us motivated, which is a pretty cool feature. We can see today's progress, active habits, active streaks, and 7-day rate. If we scroll down, we can see the calendar view. So we can see Monday to Sunday. We've got day labels on this version. We've got a last 14 days view. Walk the dog is our first habit here, 0-day streak and 0 total ticked off. Let's add a new habit. So we'll say morning meditation. It has an example here in the text box. So I'm just going to use that example and we'll say health. We'll also make that green. We'll click create. Let's add one more. We'll say journal and we'll make that orange. And we'll say this is for mindfulness as a category, and we'll click enter. So we've now got 3 habits added in here. We've got journal, morning meditation, and walk the dog. If we click on Monday, we can see that ticks it off. We also saw a little pop-up that says congratulations, walk the dog completed, with a little emoji. So that's a cool feature as well, and we've got it ticked off here, so we can follow our progress to see each one we've ticked off. Up the top, it still has today's progress as 0%, even though we've ticked off every habit for Monday. It hasn't updated today's progress. We've got date created, name, and current streak, so we can sort the habits by those filters. We've then got filter for all categories, health, mindfulness, and pet. So if we want to break it down by just health, we can use these filters for each category. Let's just tick off, say, the whole week here and see what that does. Still nothing at the top where we've got today's progress is still 0%. Active habits, we've got 3. Active streaks, 0. So there's no updates here yet despite what we've ticked off. Let's tick off the entire calendar view for walk the dog, and that has now updated today's progress. So again, that's probably a slight bug where we need to tick off the habit for all 14 days for it to register in today's progress. It should probably be a daily progress tracker here rather than a fortnightly tracker. But we can see active streaks has updated as well, and we've got a 7-day rate, so 33%. We've done 1 of our 3, so that's ticked that off. So that's a look at the Claude version. Pretty good. We can see it actually tells us which one we've completed, journal completed, when we tick it off. So there are some things we could work on to optimize, but as a interface, pretty impressive result. Again, Claude took 5 minutes and 5 seconds. Pretty impressive build from a one shot from that one prompt. That's Claude's version. Pretty good. I think this is an improvement over the Composer version. We'll now move on to Grok and see how that did. Okay, here we have Grok's version of the Habit Tracker app. It's actually similar to Claude's version in terms of the initial interface. We can see Habit Tracker at the top, build better habits one day at a time, the same as Claude. It also has the same add new habit box here. The only difference is when I move my mouse over it, it lights up. Down the bottom, we also have the same no habits yet, start building better habits by adding your first one above. So interesting to see that it's kind of replicated the same as what Claude has done. We've got a button in the top right that looks like it should be dark mode or night mode, but when I click on that, nothing is happening. Let's click add new habit. We'll do walk the dog again, similar to what we did previously. For category, we have a drop-down box that we can choose from. So we'll say health for this one, and we'll click add habit. Let's add a new habit. We'll say morning meditation, same as what we did earlier. Again, we'll use green for this one, and we'll choose mindfulness. Let's also add something around, I saw finance on there, so let's say save $50 per day. And we'll say finance for that one. So we've got 3 habits now in our list. We can see our progress calendar. If we open that up, there's a bit of a formatting error here, but we can see a longer view, it looks like, for each habit. We can see the same sort of progress tracker up the top as what Claude had. We've got active habits, completed today, completion rate, longest streak. Let's tick off one for walk the dog. Completion rate has updated, completed today, hasn't updated though. I'll continue to tick some off here. So I don't mind this calendar view here, where it's not as big as the Claude one. It's kind of easier to see and manage in terms of the size and just looking at the dates and ticking things off. I can see that I'm ticking off everything essentially that's on screen for the walk the dog habit. It's not updating completed today though. Completion rate's gone to 100%, even though I haven't ticked off every item for the day that we're on or that we should be on. We can see maybe that refers to the actual day. So we can see at the end of the calendar view, we've got Sunday the 2nd, which is obviously related to, that's meant to be today. So when I do update that, that's updating completed today. So that's actually working, but it's showing us all of these days before the actual day that we're on. So that kind of doesn't make sense to show us all that. We can open up progress calendar. That's giving us a longer term view of our habit progress, but again, it's kind of hard to tell what this is actually referring to because this formatting here is a bit out, so I can't really tell what we're actually looking at here. So a couple of bugs here, but not a bad effort for a one shot. Again, took over 11 minutes to build this. It's interesting that it's very similar to Claude's version. There are some differences in the UI. I think Grok's actually made some changes that I prefer to the Claude version. You can see here there's also an edit button I can click on to bring this up. We can edit the habit, we can change it. We can change the category or rename it or change the color or delete it. So let's delete that one. See that that works. So that's a look at the Grok version. I think this is pretty similar in terms of performance to Claude. There are some bugs we would need to fix. There are some slight differences to the Claude one that I like, but let me know in the comments below what you think. I'm finding it hard to kind of split this and Claude to know which one has done a better job. Both probably need some work and some prompting to get it to a better workable place, but not a bad effort for a one shot. We'll now finally move on to Codex and see how Codex did. Okay, here we have Codex's version of our habit tracker app. We've got a title at the top, Habit Horizon, Own Your Routines, Track Streaks, Celebrate Wins and Stay Focused with a dashboard designed for clarity. The right hand side up the top we have, it looks like light and dark mode, and then we've got auto, so that is working as a toggle for light and dark mode. Let's leave it on light mode for now. We've got completion up the top this month, and then percent, habits, check-ins, and top streak. We've got a section here where we can create a new habit, so we can enter name, category, weekly target, an accent color, why this matters, and then remind yourself why this habit is important, so that's not a bad addition, and then an add a habit button. If we scroll down, we can see we've also got a search bar, so we can search habits or categories. We've then got a drop down for all categories. We can show archived, so if we delete one, we should be able to see it there. We've also got focus mode, which I'm not sure what that does at the moment. If we add some habits, that might do something. And then at the bottom, we can see start your first streak, create a habit to see your calendar fill with color. And then we've got some suggestions that we can immediately add. So add morning stretch, add read 10 pages, add drink 2 liters of water. And finally, on the right-hand side, we can see weekly momentum. You logged 0 check-ins this week, average per habit 0, and then we've got day of week cadence. Let's do the manual way of adding a habit first. So we'll say, go for a walk, fitness, weekly target. So we can only go up to 7, so that's working. That's capped it at 7. We want to do this 5 times a week, and we'll use blue for the color. Doesn't look like that's updating. I'm hitting enter, but it's not updating the color. Why this matters, fitness is our goal for 2025. I'll click add habit. We can see that's now added down at the bottom, so I can't now use those pre-filled options that were there. So let's just add, it has also added the accent color. It didn't show up on this box, but it has updated, as you can see here, that navy blue color. Let's add one more, so we'll say read 10 pages, learning. We want to do this every day. We'll choose pink for the color, that'll do. Education is a key focus this year. add habit, and then finally let's add walk the dog, fitness. Actually, we'll do mindfulness. We'll change this to meditation. We want to do that every morning, and then we'll make the color green. Mindfulness is a key goal this year, so not really adding anything meaningful here in this section, but obviously that's not a bad feature that you can add if there's something specific about why this is a habit or a goal, to remind you of why you're doing it. So we can see here down the bottom now, we've got November 2025 as the calendar, the full month view. We can see today, if we hit across, that's going to change the month to December, January. If I click today, it flicks back here. We can see for each habit, we have 0-day streak, longest 0. We've got what our reminder is here as well. Our target is 5 times weekly. We can see that we can only tick, so for today's box, so if I tick that, it's saying 50% this month. Same for the other ones, I can tick them. The colors are matching up with the boxes and the progress bar. I'm a bit confused about what the actual day is that we are ticking off here and why we can't do other days. It doesn't really line up perfectly with November 2nd above, even though that's what day we're on at the moment. At the time of recording this video, it is November 2nd, so it should line up with that one. We can scroll across here and it's just the rest of the month view there. If we click edit, the edit button doesn't seem to work. In fact, if I click edit, it auto-fills to the edit habit box up the top here where I can then make some changes and save it. So let's just change that to 2026 and we can see that update down the bottom. We've got weekly momentum as well, which hasn't really updated. It says I've logged 3 check-ins this week, average per habit 1. If we go up the top, completion this month is 3%, habits active versus total 3 out of 3, check-ins 3, top streak 1 day, as I've ticked them all off. So we can see what habit and the top streak for that is. Let's archive, go for a walk. I'll click on show archive. That's then going to bring that up with a little archived label here. So again, from a one shot, it's pretty impressive. There's a lot more detail and features that have been built in here by Codex. But again, the trade-off is that it took 26 minutes to build it, and there still are bugs that we would need to work on and fix. I'm having a hard time sort of separating or declaring a winner because they're all different builds. They all took a different amount of time, and they've all got bugs that would need to be fixed. But that pretty much sums up this video for testing all 4 models on building a habit tracker app. As I said, I think all models have shown a few strengths and weaknesses. The time it took to execute the task was a big plus for Composer 1, but if we compare, say, Composer 1's actual build to Codex's, I think Codex's is a lot better. If we go back here, we can see it's pretty basic when we look at the Composer version, so big difference in terms of the actual quality of the build. But if you're looking for a quick build and then iterate from there with prompting, then Composer still might be viable because you can execute a lot quicker. You can ask it to build something and then you can prompt and iterate and try to fix it and add features that way. So Composer still maybe has a place in your workflow if that's what you're looking to do. On the Codex side, obviously I think the result we've got here is better in terms of the detail and the features that have been built in. There are some bugs that would need to be looked at, but if time is a constraint for you and you're looking to build quickly and iterate quickly, then Codex might not be the best choice because, as we saw, it's going to take a lot longer to actually execute the tasks. So that's something to consider. Claude and Grok I found were pretty similar in terms of the actual app that they produced. Again, they had some bugs you'd have to go back and tweak and try to fix. They didn't take as long as Codex, took a little bit longer than Composer, but potentially have place as well in your workflow if you're looking to test some other models and then iterate after an initial build. So I'm interested to hear what your experience is with these models because at the end of the day, this is just one small test. It's an interesting way to see the models in action and get an idea of how they work and what results they produce for things like this. But personal experience is also really valuable. So if you have anything to share, let me know. I'm going to work on some more future tests across all models. So if there are any specific workflows where you find that some of these models really excel, let me know and I'll put them to a test. And similarly, if there's any things you want to see tested, specific workflows or projects or tasks or specific models, even models we haven't tested in this video, let me know in the comments below and I'll work on more tests. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe, and thanks for watching.